Psalm 91 on a sunny day in Las Vegas in the fall. It's beautiful out here. The sun's in my eyes, so I'll probably be squinting all the way through this, but man, it's just too pretty to not be out here. Psalm 91, last time we talked about what I take as hyperbole and poetic language in verses 6 and 7. Do not dread the disease that stalks in darkness, nor the disaster that strikes at midday. Though 1,000 fall at your side, though 10,000 are dying around you, these evils will not touch you. I can't explain it away, and so let's look for principles. This is not a promise. This is a principle of God's presence, protection. You know, in some ways, excuse me, it feels to me like this is kind of maybe Facebook worthy, but I wouldn't build whole theology around it. And yet, there's truth in it. The idea that we may never know, we probably will never know until we cross death's river and God then makes it possible for us to know everything we need to know. We may never know until then how much we have been spared, how many different ways God has taken care of us, protected us, preserved us from evil and our enemy's intent. In verse 8, just open your eyes and see how the wicked are punished. Yeah, it's in me. I would love to see that. I would love to see how the wicked are punished. Here's an interesting, I think an important fact about that. When a person sees the wicked punished for their wickedness, it's a short-term buzz of satisfaction. I mean, I'm sure you've read the accounts of family members who one of their family has been murdered. The suspect has been jailed. The trial has happened. They've been condemned to death. The family observes their death. And when they talk about it, it doesn't fix the deep wounding in their heart. It temporarily, there's this sense of the yes, but over the longer period of time, it is not in them. It does not provide a relief, what I would call a long-term satisfaction. And then in verse 9, if you make the Lord your refuge, if you make the Most High your shelter, no evil will conquer you, no plague will come near your home. Now, those two ideas they've already been in the psalm. The Lord as your refuge. I mean, that is in verse 2, where the psalmist writes, "This I declare of the Lord. He alone is my refuge, my place of safety. If you make the Most High your shelter," pardon me, it's in those following verses where it talks about the shelter of his wings. If, these are conditional statements. If you make the Lord your refuge, if you make the Most High your shelter, no evil will conquer you, No plague will come near your home. Man, I wish I could see this. Excuse me. I wish I could see this more clearly. I wish I had a way of explaining how, okay, what's here? Well, conditionally, if I make the Lord my refuge, if I make the Most High my shelter, no evil will conquer me. That much I get. Because there's a sense in which even if the evil terminates my earthly life, I'm not conquered. Because there's more to me than my earthly life. It's this: no plague will come near your home. I don't know. The principle. What is the principle here? Is this a promise or is this a statement of principle? I believe it's a statement of principle. And the principle is, when God is my refuge, when He is my shelter, I have His presence and His protection in my life. Does that mean every bad thing will bypass me? I will be shielded from any kind of harm. Well, no, your experience tells you that. What it tells me is that's not how it works. Evil is still a factor in life, in my life. And there are times when I have to respond to the evil around me and to evil things that happen to me. And my response, the only intelligent response, is to make God my refuge, to make Him my shelter. And then he goes on, and this is, if you're kind of a student of the Gospels, the life of Christ, this may sound familiar to you. In verse 11, for He will order His angels to protect you wherever you go. They will hold you up with their hands so you won't even hurt your foot on a stone. Is that ringing a bell with anybody? Because these two verses Satan tried to use in tempting Jesus. Took Him to the pinnacle of the temple, and he said, just throw yourself off, because the promise is angels will bear you up. A stone won't even bruise your heel. And what Satan was wanting was for Jesus to do something dramatic and amazing, so that people wouldn't be able to not see Him as the Messiah and Lord. But Jesus knew that was not God's plan. He would not cast Himself down from the the pinnacle of the temple, but He would be lifted up on a cross. Is this a promise? Is this a promise that you and I are going to go through life and it's just going to be peaches and cream? It's just going to be unicorns and rainbows and, no. Again, there are principles and there are promises. Not every principle is a promise. What's the principle? Well, the principle is God is never looking the other way. He is never not at work for my protection and my preservation, to care for me. It goes on. You will trample upon lions and cobras. You will crush fierce lions and serpents under your feet. Okay. That is poetic, symbolic language. And, we can go into this big deal of the serpent, and that is a symbol throughout the whole Bible for evil and for Satan himself. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 16, the first of prophecies about the coming Messiah, how he will crush the serpent with his heel. That connects here. But you see, Jesus didn't literally do that. And yet he did it. How did he do it? Through the most, I guess I would call it, counterintuitive way. He died at the hands of evil people. And Satan thought he had won until Jesus' foot came crashing down on his head and he rose from the grave. What about the lions? The lions and the cobras. Well, in this day in which this was written, lions were wild animals, would come in from the hills, and a lion, you didn't, just pick up a lion and make him your pet. It didn't work that way. It won't work that way today. I mean, there are stories of people who befriended lion cubs, and there are those stories, but you know what? There are these other stories of people being attacked and killed by lions, and it was that way back in this day. Cobras in the Middle East, a cobra, you didn't make a cobra your pet. There were snake charmers, yes, but cobras were not domesticated. It wasn't possible to domesticate them. You'll crush fierce lions and serpents under your feet. How does that happen? Okay, kind of taking the teeth out of it, I realize, but the other side of it is, I think this is the principle. Fierce lions and cobras, serpents, are crushed under our feet by the truth, by telling the truth and living by the truth. Only the truth can crush the fierce lion and the cobra. Telling the truth and then living it out in my life. So here's where I want to throw the challenge. Evaluate yourself. Be observational. Don't be judgmental, but be observational. How are you doing with the truth? For many of us, the truth is a good thing, but we're probably not going to go very far out of our way to do something with it. Well, I'm not saying you need to, put a big loudspeaker on your car and cruise the strip shouting out Bible verses, unless that's what God's calling you to do. Mainly what I'm saying is the truth. Speak the truth. The Apostle Paul said, speaking the truth in love, we will in all things grow up into him, Christ. All of us have to observe ourselves and adjust to the truth. I'll see you next time on Soap Care with Stevie Boy.